back. So today I have something, I guess, a bit different. So as you can tell by the title, today I will be kind of talking about uh, an argument, or I guess you could say more, an alleged contradiction that is found in the Bible. Um, and this is brought on because I was having a conversation with an atheist slash skeptic a little while back. Through Instagram, right? So her name was Lucy, and she, we had a conversation about, why she doesn't believe in the Bible, why she isn't a Christian, and she gave me different reasons. But I guess you could say the main one being that there's quote unquote contradictions in the Bible. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting, as a person of curiosity, and as someone who likes to hear other people's perspectives. I was like, okay, tell me more, right? Talk about, or tell me why you don't believe. Tell me about these contradictions. And I like that she actually brought up, different examples, and not just said, oh, the Bible's full of contradictions, and that's why I don't believe, right? Because many times people say, I don't believe in the Bible because, I heard this and this and this, right? But they for themselves don't know because they just took someone else's word for it, because it benefited their worldview, right? Many times as people, we do that, right? We hear something and it's something that we want to hear, and so we just go with it without even doing further research or asking more questions about it. So I like this about Lucy, right? That she I asked her, what are these contradictions, and then she brought them up. And so in this video, I'll be talking about this one contradiction that is found, again, quote unquote contradiction that is found in the Bible, and it is in the Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So let's get into it. So the contradiction that she claims that is on the Bible is found in Jesus' resurrection, specifically in Mark 16 verses 1 and 2, and John 20 verse 1. So it reads, Mark 16 reads like this: When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so that they might go to anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb. Right? So that's Mark, and John 20 reads like this: Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. Now, the things that were pointed out for this contradiction were that, in Mark 16 it says, very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, right? And then John says, early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, right? And so the question obviously arises: is this a contradiction, or is it just kind of a difference of perspective on the author, right? And so my first reaction when she told me about this, because as a Christian, I don't read the Bible fervorously trying to find things that are wrong in the Bible, right? I just read it to get some motivation, to find some hope, especially through the kind of year that we kind of went through. It is a book that just really helps me and my family get through hard situations, and even in the good ones, it helps us stay humble. And so when she first said, oh, look, these two things and tell me if it's not a contradiction, right? I was like, well, a reasonable explanation, or the first reasonable explanation that I gave her, was that during middle school and high school, I would have to take a walk to the bus stop, right, so that I could go to school. And so I would wake up kind of early, and when I was going on the way to the bus stop, I could see the beautiful reds and oranges as the sun was coming up. But in my neighborhood, it was dark. Like, there was lights still on, and you could only see silhouettes of people. And so this got me thinking. I was like, well, it can the sun can be rising, or we can say that it's after sunrise, but it's still dark, right? That was my first thought when this argument was brought up. So it turns out that I made a small mistake when I was recording my video. In the video, I talk about nautical twilight, when we were actually talking about civil twilight, which is the stage right before sunrise. And that's a detail that I missed, because civil twilight is the brightest form of twilight, right? So there's 3 stages before sunrise that we have established to this day, right? So we have night, then we have astronomical twilight, we have nautical twilight, we have civil twilight, and then we have sunrise. And so we have these 3 stages, and those are the 3 stages that, Lucy said, we have civil twilight that's before sunrise, and civil twilight is bright enough that you can, basically read your paper outside, right? If you read the newspaper. And so it doesn't make sense that it can be dark and be sunrise, because if in civil twilight there's enough light to do your daily tasks, your daily chores, whatever, then how can it be dark after sunrise, right? And so that's the argument. And so I just want to quickly insert this in here, because it is an important distinction between, nautical twilight and civil twilight. There's a clear distinction, because during nautical twilight it is obviously darker than in civil twilight, and so that's how it goes, right? So it's night, then it's 3 stages, and then it's sunrise. And I just wanted to make sure that I could clarify that, so that you all can understand what's going on. So yeah. Well, that's interesting, right? Because if this is true, then we have a contradiction, right? But it turns out that this doesn't hold up, and there's, I guess you could say, several reasons for it. But mainly, you can't say that, the authors contradicted each other, or that there's a contradiction in the Bible when these terms and these stages weren't even identified until like the 1800s. And so you can't really say, oh, well, they don't follow our definition of what a sunrise is. Back in the day, I guess it wasn't even established where, at what time, or the different things that made a sunrise. So when we read Mark 16, and he says that it was just after sunrise, he could have meant, you can barely see, the first lights, or as we know it, the first light, which is, I think it's between the two stages, between day and night. And then John could have meant that, he said that it was just still dark. So he could have been like, oh, it's still dark. It's very early in the morning, it's still dark. And so it's kind of silly when you think about it, that the kinds of arguments that people try to bring up and say, well, these are contradictions because now we have different definitions for what different things are, right? You can't say, oh, sunrise is, at a certain time, and the Bible said that it was sunrise at whatever time, and so now we have a contradiction, right? As time goes on, different words will have different meanings, and so we can't just expect for the Bible that was written, by people filled with the Holy Spirit, 2,000 years ago, to be like, oh, in the future they're gonna change, the definition for sunrise, so we have to keep up. And so I think it's, at the end of the day, it just depends on what you believe, right? Going into something, and it's not just the Bible, right? Sometimes, like I said at the beginning, we hear something that benefits our worldview, and we just go along with it without even, doing research and, looking further into it. And so it's just, again, whether you're a Christian or not Christian, you can't take everything or anything that you hear or see or read at face value, right? You have to do more research. You have to ask questions, because, again, all these things that we write, or all these things that we read, that we see, that we hear, are things that are made by humans, and as humans we are bound to make mistakes, and sometimes they're honest mistakes, and it's good to just say, oh, I made a mistake, I was wrong. but sometimes people are out there, you know, spreading things that are, you know, that they know that are wrong, just to try to um, tear the worldview of other people. So yeah, this was the argument, and these are the reasons why I don't think it is a contradiction. And so, if you like this video, please leave a like. That lets me know that you like these kinds of videos. And there's other arguments that Lucy made, and if you want to hear those comments, me make videos about those comments. Again, please leave a comment. That lets me know that you like these kinds of videos. And so I hope you all have a beautiful day, or had a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.